All right, and now with our Markata, we are finishing some research, so that's a good sign. We didn't find anybody to assassinate, so that's good. At least one of these battles should be successful. Yeah, this one, we just sent a scout in, everybody runs, love to see that. And then I think these are, yeah, our mercenaries. We have like no actual national troops expanding this turn, which is not great. So yeah, there's a lot of heavy cav. And like, yeah, you know, you'd think like pikes would do well, right, against heavy cav, but you know, this is Dominions, not history, and these guys get absolutely cleaned up. So goodbye mercenaries. They do at least, you know, get a few kills, but yeah, there's still a lot of heavy cavalry there. Our spearmen mercenary going to be able to handle this? Probably not, but we'll see. We do have them. So yeah, I'll see you guys after the jump. All right, and this is what we have planned for this turn. So, you know, as we discussed, we're going to send our archers in. You know, third time's the charm. There can't be that much left here. Should work. And then we are going to send our heavier Bandar into the bear tribe. Of course, you know, where we were planning on going, we got blocked. And, you know, I could just throw the mercenaries against this, but I don't think they're going to win. So instead, we're going to send them in, right? Like, this is probably somebody building a fort, and it is definitely somebody building a fort. I do think I put 15 PD in here. So, like, yeah, we'll see how these quick spears do against, you know, a decent amount of PD. Like, it's definitely important to cover your fort constructions. So we'll see how that goes. Recruitment-wise, you know, more archers and then like another fire guy. We are moving a fire guy out to do a little site searching and eventually like build a lab here for us. Don't think he's holy, if I recall. Yeah, these guys get a lot of non-sacred mages, so we might actually want to build a priest at some point, although we do have our prophet who we could probably use to build a temple. So yeah, that's what we have planned. And back in Abuana, we're getting, you know, some alteration research done, so that's good. We are being helped out, of course, right, by Magic 3 for both of these builds. Like, yeah, Magic is a really powerful scale to take. You know, research is really important. Drain is super rough. And then, yeah, can you believe this guy is attacking me? Unbelievable. So yeah, let's see how this goes. You know, there's some kind of crappier mercenaries against like pretty decent PD and one national commander. So yeah, we did kind of see how this went. No bodyguards on the commander. That's always a little scary. And then yeah, you know, quick spears aren't that good. This is actually a pretty nice PD type. Pretty minor consideration when you're choosing a fort location, especially because the PD type then gets replaced by your national PD type once the fort goes up. But yeah, I mean, you know, all things being equal, like build it in a place that has better PD. You know, that'll cover the fort construction a little better. So yeah, very happy. We do lose a mounted commander, so that's a little bit sad. So fort construction is going to be paused probably, but we have another one that we recruited, so we'll be able to pick that up. You know, just another reason, like recruiting a decent amount of commanders early on. Yeah, like our mounted commander's great. Like, no, can they do things for you? Yes. So something to consider. And then yeah, this should be no problem. Yeah, these are our impalers. I don't think I changed their scripting because I don't think it really matters what they're scripted to. We're going to win this battle just fine. Famous last words. Yeah, we just net them up real easy and then impale them. So yeah, they have no trouble with that. Yeah, one casualty. Like, yeah, these guys expand pretty well. A little pricey on the gold side of things. But, you know, yeah, powerful units. So, you know, hey, if you're Satis, elite warriors. Not that this is secret tech by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, I'll see you guys after the cut. All right, and this is what we have planned. You know, we actually have no expansions this turn, which is not great, although, you know, it's turn 8 and we have 11 provinces. So, you know, overall, I would say that, you know, this expansion is fine. Like, it's not going to knock anybody's socks off. But yeah, it looks like, you know, this nation expands perfectly well, you know, with scales. And then also, you know, did decent with the sacred expansion. Probably not worth the hell bless, but like, yeah, you could probably tweak the bless enough that you could do sacred expansion if you wanted to, but you don't really need to because you have the scales option. So that's nice, right? This nation definitely like has a lot of different options and, you know, doesn't really have to be played a certain way. So yeah, these guys are pretty slow. We've talked about that, so they have to take the long way around this river. It's going to take a second. We are moving our archer group up, you know, just a bunch of archers, and like, yeah, they should do pretty well against Jaguar tribe because they're going to outrange them, and the Jaguar tribe are going to stay at range, so kind of the ideal use case. for an archer expansion party. So we'll see how that goes, not next turn, but the turn after. And then, yeah, we're starting to recruit a couple of our sacreds, just to gear up, for the final battle. Like, yeah, I'm curious to see how they do, like, with absolutely no bless. They're still expensive. They still have high defense, regeneration, no protection. So, yeah, probably recruit up, 8, 12, 16, a group that we can throw into an army, and then, getting some more impalers who I think probably are, like, our strongest unit. Overall, although haven't really played around with the cavalry options too much, but they just kind of have the same problems as our sacreds, and they are cheaper at least. So, like, yeah, maybe there's a place for them, but kind of using the sacreds right now in lieu of them. So we'll see how that goes, and I think that covers it. And over on the Marcotta side of things, we know how this works out. It does not for us over here. Works out for the other us. And then, yeah, all right, hopefully these guys expand, because we're kind of hurting with this nation. Haven't cracked the code here. This nation is not expanding for me, either with sacreds or with scales so far. So yeah, we're taking a bunch of javelins. We don't love that. These bucklers, they really do kind of suck. Our attack density is not great because we're size 3 here. We are able to at least like handle these bear, the bear tribe in melee, no problem. Everybody's melee in bear tribe. Let's see, is this a two-handed weapon? No, I guess it's just one-handed. Their other hand is full of javelins, I suppose. So yeah, I think this is going to work out for us. It's not without loss, and we're definitely picking up some afflictions and etc. But that's there wasn't like a lot of bear tribe. Whoops, this is a different group. Yeah, 47 bear tribe. That's respectable. We lose 6 guys, so that's not great. But it feels like this expansion group is probably still viable against a lot of different indie provinces. So far these guys are really gold expensive, to be expanding with, but maybe our best option. I don't know, we'll see. And then of course, yeah, kind of spoiled this one, but we'll take a quick look. These are just our archers. Against archers, also kind of a good use case, right, for an archer expansion party, because yeah, we don't really want anybody getting up close, and this is definitely taking a while, but we come away with it. We do have the longbows and probably a lot more protection than those wolf tribe archers. So yeah, we lose a couple of archers, but that goes really well for us. But again, that's kind of like best case scenario. And then, yeah, this is nice. Luck kicking in for us. That's quite a bit of stuff. And then, yeah, some province income. Very nice. So, yeah, we'll see you guys after the jump. All right, and this is what we have planned. We have no expansions this turn. Let's see. Yeah, turn 8. Things are not looking as good over on this side of the map. So we have 8 provinces on turn 8, which is just barely clearing minimum bar. But then, of course, we're going to fall behind it because we have no expansions this turn. We are moving forward, this force of the heavier Bandar. And we'll send them against, this heavy cav and heavy infantry, see how they do. I think these Bandar will do a little bit better because they shouldn't struggle with the high protection because they have really high strength. But, of course, they're not going to love the charge. They may struggle a bit with the defense of the cavalry, but attack skill 11, yeah, 13 with their weapon. Yeah, should be fine, I think. But, yeah, they're not going to love taking the charge. So we'll see how that goes eventually. Working on the fort, bringing this group back, recruiting more archers, another mage, doing a little site searching. And then, yeah, we're going to YOLO these assassins in on this same throne because, screw it. Mostly I just don't hate myself enough to assassinate myself because that is just really, I don't need that in my life. You got to love yourself at least a little bit. So we're just going to get rid of all these assassins to make sure nothing like that ever happens. So, yeah, I think that's it for this turn. And then, yeah, a quiet turn here for Aboana. So I'll see you guys after the cut. All right, and this is what we have planned. We are sending our archer group in against these Jaguar tribe, so I think it'll be fine, but, we'll see. I don't really do a lot of archer-only expansion groups, so that should be a little interesting. And then, yeah, we're just slowly bringing up our other group. We are starting another palisade here. It might not really be relevant, in how long I'm planning on playing this game, but, we had the gold, and it is definitely something, you want more than one fort going, I would say, generally speaking. So, yeah, building another palisade. Recruitment-wise, getting more of these impalers. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. One thing to consider, if do end up using a lot of these impalers, they are cold-blooded, right? And we've taken, I think, just completely neutral heat scales. So we're gonna have snow on the ground. It's gonna be cold in winter. Which, if we're using these guys as like our main frontline troop, that is not gonna be great for them. So, something to consider in terms of the scale. Maybe go heat, throw a bone to our main frontline infantry. Might be worth it. Oh yeah, and then we gotta do our assassination. So yeah, I think that's all we have planned for this turn. And then no expansions on this side either, so that's not a good sign. We did find an interesting site, so that's cool. I'll take a look at that maybe after the jump. Alright, and this is what we have planned. Here's this Devil's Furnace, very nice. You can have Fire Mage enter to summon Fiery Imps. Not really sure if that's worth it, certainly not in how long we're planning on playing this game. Otherwise, we are just sending our Bandar in against, this heavy cav and heavy infantry. Yeah, decently high hopes. I think they will win that. Otherwise, no expansions. We are just moving our archers up. Whoops, didn't grab some of them. Yeah, we have a bunch of archers here. So yeah, we're just going to move our archers up. This is where we're building one of our palisades. We'll want our prophet to build a temple there, and we don't really have anywhere else to expand to. So I think probably Grey Mountains maybe is going to be the place where we have the fight, somewhere around there. So yeah, just going to start filtering troops up that way. We did start another palisade over here. We just have the money. They don't call me Scales McDuck for nothing. And then recruitment-wise, we are going to need a front line, and so far, these guys seem like they've done the best, so we're getting a bunch more of them, another Fire Mage. Yeah, resources, very much, the issue here with this nation. Although, again, some of that is, we started in a farmland, right? And then we only have 3 connections, not great, and all of our connections are just plains. So this is kind of a resource-starved start. I would like to at least get, this palisade up and try to start recruiting some troops out of it. This is a province that has a lot more resources. So, just kind of maybe get a feel for, how recruitment goes. We are going to need a few more turns on our research. So we might wait a little bit longer to have the fight with these scales builds, just so we can get a bit more of a feel, of how their out of capital fort recruitment does. And then of course, building a fort right next door, not going to be great in terms of resources, but this is also a pretty decent province and has enough connections, and I think this has enough connections. I think it'll be fine. Probably the best spot for our fort, considering that we have kind of limited options since expansion didn't go great again for this faction. So yeah, I think that covers it. All right, Abawana, we have some assassination attempts against mages. These are astral mages, so we actually have a shot at killing them. This guy has some bodyguards. Oh, and he has a berserker pelt. A classic. Sage with a berserker pelt. And then yeah, our assassin just gets murked by a javelin. So yeah, bodyguards, they help a lot. So we'll see if this sage does not have any bodyguards, but he also doesn't have a berserker pelt, so he's not just going to rush us with his fist. And he's going to cast some luck and probably some body ethereal. Ooh, mind burn. Okay, nice. Yeah, you can see. And I think that, yeah, that chewed up a pearl. But yeah, you can see, even against astral mages are probably some of the easiest mages to assassinate. And unkitted like our regular Joe Schmo assassins. This is a lore master. So yeah, this is, even lore masters still are easier to assassinate, but there you go, mind burn. So yeah, don't try to send regular assassins against mages. They're gonna have a bad time. So then this is our archers, I think, right? Yeah. Ooh, probably, I don't know, skirmish. I guess we are just up against Jaguar tribe, so should be fine. But that was unintentional, having them in the skirmish line. But yeah, we're going to do great because they are way more clumped, and we get a bunch of free shots in because slings don't have very long range, and I'm pretty sure we have better protection than most, if not all of their guys. So yeah, archer expansion can work. Should you do it? Probably not, but it's a possibility. I feel like the archers that this nation has are decent. Usually with archers, you kind of just want numbers, so it's almost kind of bad if they're like really heavily armored or stuff like that. And our guys aren't. They're not super cheap. They're not like pygmy level. Where they're just notoriously inexpensive, and you can just mass out a ton of them. So they're not quite that good, but they're still definitely massable, and then they have enough protection to matter in an archer v archer duel, and they have the composite bows, so like slightly better bows. I think in the middle age here, it's not as good, but in the early age, like I would say, like those are actually like some pretty solid archers. And we finish our palisade, which is nice. So yeah, see you guys after the jump. All right, and this is what we have planned this turn. No expansions, also kind of a bad sign, although right at this point we are a little bit in a war, right, against our neighbor, and, not really looking... Most of what we have is like cut off, right? Our opponent isn't really going to be able to expand into it. So at this point, just, playing it safe, would like to just combine all of our forces together as, sort of a prelude for this battle. So yeah, we'll probably be expanding here with both of these groups after that, and then continuing to recruit more impalers in the capital, getting our like capital only slow to recruit mage, just see what pops out. And then yeah, I think that covers it for this faction. Yeah, we have a little bit of expansion over here, so let's see how this goes. Right, this is our last hope. Oh no, there's no leaders. Wow, we must have just got lucky and killed the leaders, I guess. I don't recall doing any assassinations here. So I guess we will not find out how these guys do against heavy infantry and heavy cavalry, which is unfortunate because that is the question that I actually wanted to have answered. And then, hey, luck is helping us out with some gold. False prophets, always, even with perfect scales. Yeah, and I'll see you guys after the cut. All right, and this is what we have going on for our Marcotta. Expansion is basically finished for them. We could make a play for this down here, but with this force right here, that's not really realistic, so I don't think we'd actually be able to get that in a real situation. And so yeah, we finished expansion with like 9 provinces, I think, which woof, that's rough. So yeah, this group did a little bit better. So if I were to do another run with this nation, would probably focus on them and see if they're gonna be able to support a scales expansion. But yeah, it's been a little rough with this nation. So yeah, to that end, recruiting more of these guys as a front line, a few more mages. Yeah, we'll probably accelerate and like kind of jump again to around like, turn 15, 16 when we've built up, some armies. Our research is lagging a little bit, right? Because we don't have the Wake God researching for us. So we'll probably only reach like level 3 in the paths. So yeah, that'll be kind of interesting. I think that's fine for evocation, right? Because we will get Fireball, which is the main thing we were looking for. So, something else to consider in terms of like, well, what is your early research going to be? What can you actually hit, right, by the time that you might be facing some early wars? And I mean, this is pretty early to be fighting, but it definitely happens. And, a war like at around, turn 12, turn 16, that's not uncommon, right? Usually it's like people finish expansion, and then unless they want to hang out, and try to hit a couple research goals, they're going to be looking, to attack someone to, continue their expansion, if you will. So yeah, that's, I think, more or less it for this faction. All right, so we've skipped ahead here. It is now turn 16, so we're going to have the big battle on turn 17, I think 1 or 2 turns later than we did in the, Hellblessed builds, but still pretty close. And you can see the difference between scales, right? So, we have 2 forts up with labs, like we have a ton of money left over. We've been doing some extra recruitment that we haven't even brought forward. And then we just have an absolutely massive army compared to last time, right? So we just have a bunch of archers and our impalers and, just a few sacreds. And then, the same kind of body ethereal spam here on like our back line of impalers. And then, we actually do have some nature gems here. So we're doing some Swarm. I will say that, you know, we do have decent nature access, but like we're kind of a little more tilted towards Astral, I would say. So like, you know, for this guy, like he's an Astral 3 and we're just having him spam out some bugs. That doesn't feel great. Also, our nature income is fine, but like not the strongest, right? I think that's our weakest gem type out of our, okay, not quite. Death is weaker, but still like, you know, we haven't done a ton of site searching yet, but, you know, this is going to burn through like roughly half of our gems that we've gotten out of our cap site. So like to rely on Swarm as an early defense for this nation is viable, but like maybe you would want to do some nature site searching, you know, to make sure that you're going to have enough income. And, you know, of course it is an expensive way to defend yourself in terms of gems. But yeah, you know, just kind of highlights the difference between, you know, scales and like a Hellbless. I will say that, you know, if you want to do less scripting, then go for the Hellbless, because it's definitely like simpler, right? You just bring your really nasty Sigurds, bless them up, send them in. You know, you have a lot fewer things to click and mages to script. And if you go scales, you're going to get deeper into the scripting side of things. So, you know, something to consider. So that's what we have planned, you know, for this half of the equation. Let's go see what the other guys are bringing to the table. All right, and this is what the other side is going to be bringing to the table. So we just have, let's see, 3 squares of our infantry that, you know, perform the best. We'll see how they do. Some archers, half of them in box formation for better morale, half of them in skirmish so that they take fewer casualties. Not really sure which is going to work better, so a little bit of A/B testing here. And then, yeah, a ton of mages who are going to be spamming out, you know, a bunch of kind of lower level evocations. Small communion going down, so we'll be able to do a couple lightning bolts. Gonna actually, you know, do some air shield for survivability. Gonna be a lot of arrows flying around. Eagle eyes, hopefully it'll help their aiming. Maybe a waste of a spell slot. But we are gonna set these guys to advance and cast spells. Probably they're just gonna die, but, you know, they are actually in like decently heavy armor. And so, yeah, hopefully they'll throw out like some shockwave and stuff like that. We'll see. Otherwise, like, you know, mostly fireball, fire-based stuff. We do have kind of some interesting cross paths. So throwing out, you know, a couple Banefire darts, sulfur haze. I think we have some fire water stuff. Yeah, a little bit of acid bolt. So yeah, you know, throwing out a bunch of evocations and like, yeah, really honestly have no idea how this is going to work. I do, you know, we're throwing a lot of magic damage, and, you know, the main thing we're doing on the other side is like kind of body ethereal, and the magic damage is not going to care one bit. We are also spamming out a bunch of luck on the other side, and that definitely will matter. And then in terms of troop quality, I think Abawana has the edge, but yeah, I really have no idea how this is going to go, and, you know, should be pretty interesting. So yeah, well, take it away. All right, so let's have a look-see. What do these two nations look like throwing, you know, scales against each other? Definitely the armies, you know, are much, much bigger. And, like, yeah, this is real dangerous here, these first rounds. Bugs coming out, looks like on all sides, so the arrows probably didn't pick up any mages. Yeah, wow, we're really, you know, there's not a lot of protection anywhere. I think all the archers are, yeah, just set to fire, like, ooh, boy. Yeah, this is a bit of an archer duel here. Not really sure. Yeah, the fireballs are doing decent damage. There's the lightning bolts, some cloud spells coming in. But yeah, the front line is mostly done. But of course, you know, we have our buffed like secondary line. Yeah, some of our archers routing over here. I do think, yeah, there's a bit of a range advantage, right, with these longbows. Not really sure why we're dropping a sulfur cloud back here. That, yeah, I mean, if that's a precision problem, like, wow. Oh, you know, it must be a bug. Yeah, flying bug. Swarm is great, you know, for messing up casters. And yeah, of course, you know, the secondary lines, some of whom are lucky, some of whom are ethereal, are doing much better. But, you know, the archers are kind of in a rough place for Abawana, and I would say that, you know, they're still outnumbered. Tiger Riders, like, still alive, still doing things, even without a bless, and a pretty hostile battlefield for them. I think, you know, that's somewhat just luck. The archers haven't really targeted them because they don't, you know, have the same kind of density. The evocations, like, actually, like, doing some work. These cloud spells, you know, getting some friendly fire, definitely. The Tigers make it back, and they do get a rout. I think that might be on the guys in the skirmish formation. So at least, you know, skirmish didn't really help them out there. And like, yeah, you can see like these guys that are lucky and ethereal, like it really does make a huge difference. Although I do think we're getting, yeah, that's a full route on the infantry for Abawana. But I think, yeah, Hashito has routed completely. So, I mean, that was pretty down to the wire. And it does look like Abawana is going to come away with it. But yeah, that's not a convincing win. That's a pretty brutal battle and what looks to be the start of a very grindy war. Yeah, I wouldn't be thrilled as either of these factions. So let's take a look at what the casualties actually were. Pretty high on both sides. They brought, almost exactly equal numbers, which is kind of interesting. Oh yeah, we did get a hero for Abawana. So cool. He was Simba, and he is, yeah, sadly he is dead now. Maybe we'll take a quick look. He was a shape changer, so I sent him in, and it did not work out for him. And so yeah, we only lose two mages other than that. Most of our sacreds survive, and they actually do a good amount of killing for like how many we brought. So like, yeah, another thing that I noticed that I somehow missed about these sacreds, they recruit anywhere, right? So that really changes the equation for these guys. Definitely worth considering a bless. Like anytime you have a recruit anywhere sacred, that's something you should pay extra attention to. The Impalers did a good amount of work, but considering how many we brought, it wasn't fantastic. They don't love arrow fire, right? And there was a lot of arrow fire, so this is kind of a rough battlefield for them. Our archers didn't do great, right? And I mean, they routed pretty quickly too, right? We brought 108, they only got 52 kills, and we lost only 36, but they pretty much all ran off fairly quickly. So that wasn't great. Overall, like, our mage usage is a little hard to say. I will say, I've been saying that evocation is pretty expensive in terms of mage turns. So is point buffing, right? Obviously, we brought a lot of mages to do our point buffing as well. So, a lot of like magic support early on is fairly like mage turn intensive, I find. So yeah, I mean, this is rough but not catastrophic, especially because we're scale, so we can replace these losses fairly easily. And then yeah, a little worse for Hashito. Obviously, like they did get the loss, higher mage losses. Quite a few kills here, right? Like Fireball, it's not fantastic, but it's a decent spell. Like you're gonna get kills, if you bring. I mean, we only brought 8 mages, and some of this is the clouds as well. The clouds are definitely good. Our Firekeeper only managed to pick up 1. It looks like our lightning fellows, they did not do so great. Both of them that went in died. So yeah, they have heavier armor, but not heavy enough to be doing any close range casting. Definitely not. And then, of course, just highlights that Lightning Bolt is more of an anti-elite and is not going to be so effective in this kind of setting. But yeah, like our Bandar champions, yeah, they did pretty well. I mean, they took a lot of losses, like basically 1-for-1 like kill ratio, which is kind of the best that we've looked at so far other than our fireball throwers. I actually thought that these archers had done better, but yeah, they actually didn't do like fantastic. Morale is a bit of a problem kind of for everybody, I would say, for all these factions. So yeah, but I would say like both of these factions seem viable scales expansion wise. Like I said, I don't think I really like hit a stride here with Hashito. So they are probably somebody I would take another look at in terms of trying to like figure out exactly what to do for scales expansion. Like I said, I think these guys seem like they're the way to go, but we didn't really get enough chance. So definitely run another expansion with them, and kind of see what was going on. And you can see with scales, like you have a lot more to play with. And to that end, definitely learned a few more things like about these nations. The biggest thing for this nation, I would say, is that the sacred is recruit anywhere, which is a huge deal. I don't know how I missed that before. Probably some of you are like, yeah, dude, the sacred is recruit anywhere. But I didn't see it until just now. And I got another fort up and was like, wait, if I build a temple, I can recruit the sacreds here? So that's cool. And then, like I said, like we do seem to be a bit more like astral focused. I mean, we have good nature access, definitely. But yeah, like in terms of early research goal, like alteration is still reasonable. We don't really have any air to speak of. But yeah, archers are going to be a bit of a problem, at least early on, and like not really 100% sure offhand what the answer is going to be, but that's definitely something to think about early research-wise, is that, we're a little more tilted towards astral. We do get, a splash of like death, not with this guy. I think, yeah, with this guy, splash of death, a little bit of water. Our cap only, like we actually saw a few more of these guys pop out, same kind of thing, like astral death nature. So like maybe, lean into the death, although it seems like we're not really going to have too much of that early on. So yeah, that's kind of the main thing about this. Definitely highlights the fact that like, we don't really need resources, right? Like here's another fort, and you can see that it's like, yeah, pretty quickly. I think even with our most intensive guys, right, these guys cost the most resources, but it's recruitment points, right, that we run out of first. And that's going to be the case for these guys' troops across the board. So like even with a scales build, just kind of highlights that, we're going to be recruitment point limited for this faction, right? You're probably going to want to build forts, more in like farmlands and plains, places that are really going to maximize your recruitment points. And that, dumping into like sloth, or at least like less productivity, even if you're looking at a more scalesy build, like that's a place that you could, pick up some points to actually bless. And, the sacred is probably worth a bless, especially considering it's recruit everywhere. So, that's a place you can pick up. Definitely a bit of a gold hungry nation, right? So that is definitely something to consider. And then for poor Hashito, still like not all nations click equally quickly. Like certainly for myself, sometimes even nations that are considered like quite strong, I start playing with them and they just don't make sense to me, right? So I think sometimes it's, certain nations work for certain players. And then of course, some nations are stronger than others, and, some nations struggle a lot more with expansion, but like really come into their own later. Even though we've kind of gone through like 2 games with this, fought a couple battles, like we're still really only scratching the surface of like exploring these nations. Like we haven't really dug into their magic like hardly at all yet. And really just kind of highlights, it's a bit of a pet peeve of mine, I guess, so you'll have to indulge me here for a second. But, oftentimes I just see people in the community kind of like jump down people's throats. And I don't even think it's meant in a bad way necessarily, right? Because Dominions is the kind of game, it's a rabbit hole and people fall down deep down that rabbit hole. And they have a lot of experience and they have some strong opinions, based on hundreds or thousands of hours of gameplay. And so they'll come out with like really strong opinions, right? Where somebody new shows up, asks some questions that, aren't meta or aren't normally the way things are done, and people quickly shut them down, and it's like, that's a dumb idea, don't do that, and plenty of times they're right. But Dominions is such a complicated game. I think a lot of times people are way too confident in their assessments, right? Where they're like, oh yeah, this will never work, don't ever do that, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, these nations, each nation like is incredibly complicated and different. And you need a lot of playtime like with that nation, or you need to be really good at eyeballing, and have a lot of experience. And I have a lot of hours in this game, but still, like, trying to assess new nations, like it's a challenge. So, I think a lot of times like people are too quick, to assume that they've kind of figured everything out. And, conversely, if you're a new player coming in and, you want to try something that people say, don't bother, it sucks, don't listen to them. Give it a shot. Like I say, find out for yourself. You may discover some stuff, that people don't really know. So anyway, that aside, things that I've discovered like since about this nation, probably knew this at one point, but these guys are actually like recruit only, right? So like our like air access and communionableness with air and nature is like a lot less significant, right, than I first thought. Whereas like these slow to recruit Firekeeper guys are recruit anywhere. So that's kind of an interesting trade-off. This nation also really has like some old age problems. Like these guys at least aren't old, although their map move is not great, because everybody's wearing like kind of this heavy armor. But like these fire guys, like they just like, they come in super old, like they're so old, and like their map move is just like absolutely miserable, right? Old age and armor penalties. They get a map move of 8. So that's definitely something to consider. Like, right, these actual fellows, they're going to struggle to move around the map, and they have huge age problems. I'm not even sure you could fix like this old age with an unaging bless, and like, yeah, these guys aren't even sacred anyway, so just something to keep in mind, right? It's like, oh boy, okay, these mages are, we have some old age problems here, which is pretty common, right? Like on Fire Nations. And I would say that's kind of the main thing. Like, yeah, their sacred is not recruit anywhere. So yeah, still not really sure like what to do with this nation. I think, early evocation, like it worked out okay. Not the worst option, especially because like we're heavy in fire. I do think like a rush for conjuration, right? Like they get enough Fire 3s, even though these guys are a bit of a hassle to use. Like Fire 3 is pretty powerful. You get some Phoenix Pyre going to bump them up to Fire 4, and you can really pump out like quite a few full-size fire elementals, which is pretty scary, really at any point in the game, but especially early on, depending on what you're up against. But yeah, so this is kind of some thoughts on this nation, right? This is sort of both sides of the equation now. Obviously, there would be like plenty more testing. I might do another run through with these guys like one more time to sort of like maybe highlight like more balanced builds, or like builds that I think might actually be, dare I say, good, or at least not terrible for them. And see like kind of where it's like, okay, you try both extremes, and then like here's an example of where they like end up in the middle. But yeah, of course, like, this is just, again, scratching the surface. Like you would have to like go deep, right, and start thinking about like, well, what kind of gem income am I going to have? Like what paths am I missing? So what am I going to want on the Pretender? Like what are some like mid and late game spells that I'm going to want to be casting? So there's still a ton more to do. Like just taking it out to turn 12, turn 16 is really just going to get you to the starting line in a lot of ways, to be ready, to play multiplayer and to play like a longer game, and have a shot at winning. So yeah, hopefully you guys, have enjoyed this series so far, and definitely let me know if you would like to see, a third build for these nations. Hopefully it's been a fun ride, and maybe, some of you guys will be excited to try out a little bit of nation generator madness.